Namaskar and very warm welcome to all our viewers in this live phone-in session of CIET NCERT. I am Renu Bhatt with you all and you are watching us live on PMeVIDYA channel number 5 and on our NCERT official YouTube channel. Dear learners, this is the time when we talk about our 5th standard students. This is 5th standard students for English students. We have our topic, that is Gulliver's Travels. You must be thinking about who is Gulliver and what he had done in his traveling. So for more detailed information, we have our expert in our studio with us. You are Miss Rashi Thapa. You are JPF, Department of Elementary Education, NCERT. Very warm welcome, ma'am. So, dear learners, as you got to know the topic and the title, it's your time for participate in this program. You can participate in this program through phone call, email and your comments. You can call us on our telephone number, that is 8800440559, and you can drop our email also at our email address, that is dth.class5@ciet.nic.in. And in case you have joined us through live streaming, go to the live chat box and drop your comment out there. Our expert will be happy to answer all your queries and doubts. In case you want to share your experience, your traveling experience, feel free to connect to us. So by the time our learner and listeners joined us, let's move towards you, ma'am. What you have for our learners in this session?
A very warm good afternoon, children. So today we are going to read Unit 7, Gulliver's Travels. So before starting the chapter, I would like to ask ma'am, do you like traveling?
I just love traveling.
You've been to some place recently?
Yeah, recently I've been to Rishikesh. Okay. And I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay. So this is how ma'am has described her traveling experience, and in this chapter we are going to see how Gulliver experienced in this island. So before starting, I would like to share a PPT with you. On the very first page of the chapter, there is a word written case, that is autobiography. So before coming to the word, I would like to explain you what is biography. So biography, you might have heard about different personalities like APJ Abdul Kalam, Mahatma Gandhi, Subhash Chandra Bose. So how do we get to know about these personalities? So we get to know about them through their biographies. Biography describes a person's whole life and it is generally written by others. So anybody has written up something about Subhash Chandra Bose, about his whole life or about their whole life. So now what autobiography? So auto plus biography. Auto means by their own self. Okay. So here when a person tells or writes about his or her life in his or her own words, it is called autobiography.
Written by himself or herself, and biography means written by someone else.
Okay. Yes, ma'am. Okay. So as ma'am has described her recent experience where she has been to Rishikesh, so now we are going to see where Gulliver had been and what happened with him. So Gulliver was a sailor and was once caught in the land of giants. Giants, huge creatures, and we are going to see how large, how huge they were. This is how he describes his experience. On 16th of June 1730, this is how children we write dates in English. They discovered land. So here they is Gulliver along with his crew. Their captain sent dozen men to get water. Dozen means a lot of men. But there was no river or spring on this barren and rocky land. So unfortunately they were unable to find any source of water on this rocky land. He went on to explore. Gulliver, he went further to see this land, and thus he was left behind. Suddenly he observed a huge creature, a very large giant. That creature was a giant and the water of the ocean was only reaching till his knees. So with this comparison, you can see how big this giant was, how large he was, that the ocean water was reaching only till his knees. Gulliver got scared and tried to run away from him. He ran away from this creature. While crossing this huge cornfield, he discovered another giant similar to the one he saw before. So he came across this another giant, and he was also very large, huge creature. 7 more giants came to reap the cornfields. So they came to do farming in this cornfield. The reaping hooks, the tools that they had, were also very huge in size, and their voice was much louder than a trumpet. Much louder than. Why much louder? Because they were huge in size. So that's why their voice was also louder like a trumpet. Okay. Now 7 more giants came to reap the cornfields. The reaping hook they were carrying were also huge. And again I want to put emphasis on this thing, louder than a trumpet. One of the giants picked up Gulliver 60 feet above the ground. You can see 60 feet. This has been highlighted just to show how huge their size was, between his thumb and forefinger, and brought Gulliver close to his eyes. All the giants sat together to see how small Gulliver was. So they were even shocked, like Gulliver was shocked to see this huge creature. Similarly, they were also in a shock. The giant farmer took Gulliver to his house. Before going to his house, let's see kids through this picture which is given on this slide. You can compare how small Gulliver is and how large this giant is. Gulliver is appearing like a small tiny doll in front of him.
Right.
Okay. So the giant farmer took Gulliver to his house and placed him on the dining table, which was 30 feet high from the floor. So the table was 30 feet from the floor, a very huge difference. In the middle of the dinner, Gulliver heard a loud noise. He heard a loud noise. It was the purring of a cat, and that cat was 10 times larger than an ox. The ox that we usually see, so that cat was 10 times larger than. Okay, so on the next page you can see the cat sitting on the table, and I'll explain what is happening here. Then came giant farmer's 1-year-old son. So this kid is 1 year old and he is in the arms of a lady. So the child grabbed Gulliver's head and put it into his mouth. You can see in the picture like how he is trying to put Gulliver inside his mouth, and it is here also it is appearing like a small doll in front of this only 1 year old kid. Now Gulliver shouted loudly and the child dropped him. Later farmer's wife carefully put him on the bed. To whom? To Gulliver, and covered him with handkerchief. So you can see the bed sheet is working, the handkerchief is working as a bed sheet to Gulliver. So he was so tiny in front of these huge creatures. Gulliver slept peacefully and dreamt of his family. He was missing his family, his wife and children. So this is how we have compared Gulliver's size with these creatures on this giant island. Okay, so ma'am, today we have learned about comparing things.
Right.
So with this comparing things, let's go on the next slide which tells us about simile. So before starting this simile, let me tell you, what do you see, ma'am, this in this spelling simile? Do you find it similar to something?
Yeah, smile.
Smile, very nice. So it's, how do we spell simile? It's a smile with one additional I after S. So it becomes S-I-M-I-L-E. So what is simile, kids? When we compare two or more things that are similar or seems to be similar, either they are similar or they appear us to be similar, same, so simile. Now look at these examples, as cold as ice. So something which is similarly as cold as ice.
That means we are comparing the same thing, right?
Yes,
in a same sentence.
Yes, in the same sentence we are comparing two things. We are explaining a thing with the help of this simile, comparing. Like in winters, the floor is as cold as ice. So here you can see, in winter, generally the floor is as cold as ice. Next example is as loud as thunder. What is thunder? Thunder, during rainy season or generally when it rains a lot for 3 or 4 days in a continuation, we observe lightning, and along with lightning there is thundering. So the voice of thundering is very loud. So that's why we have compared a thing to as loud as thunder. So the giant farmer's voice was as loud as thunder. It was as loud as thunder because he's a giant. So if you remember, children, this phrase, this simile has been used in the chapter. The giant farmer's voice was as loud as thunder. Or you can say, my mother was scolding me and her voice was as loud as thunder. Okay, so we will, by the end of this session, we will be aware of many similes used in English language, and I would like to encourage you children to use similes which are there in your own languages, in your regional languages, as and when required. Now coming to the exercise, we have this, you can see this grey box on your screen. There, let's read these words before starting the exercise. The first word is red. You all are aware of red. Red is a color. Next is black. Black is also a color. Sweet. Sweet. Something sweet to eat. Sweet to taste. Warm. Something warm, which gives a hot. Something hot. Strong, which is hard, tough, strong. White, it's also a color. Then we have light. Light, we see light during day. Snow. Okay, so now there are these blanks which we have to fill with the help of these words. The first is as blank as rose. So what comes in your mind when you read this sentence? Rose. And then jump to this box given above and try to fix a word over here. Rose. Can rose be white, ma'am? It can.
It can.
But generally, can it be sweet?
No.
What do you think?
No,
okay.
I don't think so.
Okay.
But whenever we think about
rose,
red color
appears
comes in our mind, right?
Yes, ma'am. So the first is as red as rose, children. So now next is as dash as honey. So what is honey? How it appears, how it tastes. Honey, is it light? Is it black?
No.
Is it sweet? Oh, it's sweet. It is sweet. So something which is very sweet, we can say as sweet as honey. Now next, as dash as a feather.
Okay.
Okay.
It's a feather, but it's written as feature.
Feature. Sorry. So it's as light as a feather. Coming on next sentence, it is as dash as snow. As
white
as
snow.
a snow. Next, as dash as an ox. How ox appears as?
Very strong.
Very strong. So as strong as an ox. As dash as night. Generally at night, what do we see in an ombrus, in a very abundance?
We actually couldn't see anything.
So it appears dark to us.
Right.
So dark, with dark we can write black.
Right.
So something which is very dark, we can say as black as night.
So do we have other exercise also?
Yes, we have. Now we are going to complete the following sentences. The first one, I felt as light dash after swimming. So as light as a feather. And the spelling of feather is F-E-A-T-H-E-R. Feather. So after swimming, I felt as light as a feather. Or we can also say, I felt as light as a feather after exercising. Okay? We feel relaxed. His feet were as cold. How were his feet? They were as cold as ice. So something which is very cold. So we will say as cold as ice. Next, the little girl's cheeks are as red
as
they are
rose.
Yes, they are as red as a rose. The newspaper boy was as slow as dash in delivering the paper. So this newspaper boy was as slow as a tortoise. So he was very slow in delivering the papers. And we have one more exercise left with us for today's session, and that is, we are going to fill these blanks with ourselves. Any word which comes in your mind, ma'am, you can also.
We can use.
Yes, you can
I
also
can use.
Yeah, you can also use. Similarly, children, you can also use where whatever thing comes in your mind, but it should be in appropriate context.
Right.
First one, as black as. What is as black as, ma'am?
I'll go with the night word.
Okay, you will go with night. So let's see. Oh, it's night. We have just learned about this simile, as black as night. Something which is very dark. So it is as black as night. Next, as tall as. Something which is tall. What it is?
Qutub Minar.
It is Qutub Minar. It can be. Let's see. And it can be a giraffe as well. So when you compare your friend's height, or you want to tell someone's personality, you can say he is as tall as a giraffe. Okay. Next, as fast as. This I want from you, ma'am.
Yeah, by the time whenever I heard this sentence,
Yes, ma'am.
cheetah word appear in my mind directly. Yeah, without any second.
Okay, cheetah. So, yes, something which is very fast can be compared with cheetah. So, we can say as fast as cheetah, or we can say as fast as train. Can we say as fast as an aeroplane? We can say. Okay. So, the next is as high as, something which is very high.
We can name any mountain or something like that.
Yes, sure, ma'am. We can say as high as Mount Everest, kids. Next, as tiny as we have seen in the chapter, Gulliver was so tiny in front of these huge creatures. So we will say as tiny as an ant, something which is very, very small. So we will compare that object, children, with an ant. Next, as white as
Snow.
Yes, something which is white, we will compare it with snow. So the simile for it is as white as snow, something which is very white. Next, as brave as. So brave, when we talk about brave children, or generally when we talk about courage, and this first thing that comes in our mind are the people who are serving for our nations, and they can be in army, they can be in police, they can be anywhere. So such people are generally referred as soldier. So when we talk about bravery or courage, so we say as brave as a soldier, as brave as soldier. Next, as sharp as, something which is very sharp. So what do we do with sharp things? We generally cut things. So as sharp as knife, or you can also say as sharp as a scissor. Okay. So here we are done with. Great job. We are done with today's session, and we are done with Gulliver's travel and simile.
But as we have almost 7 minutes left in our program, I would rather request you, can we go to the story part again, and can you explain that story to our learners one more time?
Yes, sure, ma'am, sure.
And I have just seen that in this story you have highlighted some word or sentence. What exactly was that for?
They are basically comparing our normal life to what Gulliver's land up and where he was caught in this island.
Okay.
So children, you can see the difference. Like there has been mentioned a word that when the farmer took Gulliver into his hand and picked him up, Gulliver was 60 feet above the ground. So you can make a comparison that when you pick up things, so the thing gets high comparatively to your height. Let's say I am, for example, 5 feet something. So when I am going to pick up a thing, that thing will be 5 feet above the ground. So here we can conclude that the farmer's height was 60 feet. He was 60 feet tall. So he was as tall as a more than a giraffe. He was, we can say he was as tall as Qutub Minar.
Right.
Okay. And then there is one more word highlighted which says when the giant took Gulliver to his house, he puts him on a table, and that dining table was 30 feet. So now Gulliver was 30 feet from the ground level. He was 30 feet above the floor. So 30 feet means generally the tables that we use in our home or you see in your schools are 3 feet above from the ground. but here the table was 30 feet from the ground. So this is a huge table, a very huge table.
Right.
And another thing, there is one more comparison which can be seen through the last picture.
We can go to the PPT.
Yes.
Can we have the PPT on
Yes.
screen? Yeah.
I would like to go back.
Okay. So
Okay,
dear
it's taking
learners,
time.
these were the exercises that you have to do
Yes.
so that you can enhance your vocabulary as well as your language also.
So here children, you can see this child is only 1 year old and he's appearing so big, so huge in front of Gulliver, and Gulliver is appearing like a very small puppet or a doll in his hand, and he was trying to basically eat Gulliver's head. Okay, so the comparison, the ones here I have highlighted, the cat was 10 times larger than an ox. Generally you have seen ox, you have seen buffaloes and cows. So this cat over here, which this giant was having at his home, was 10 times larger than an ox. So you can see the difference between our day-to-day things and objects and the things which were there in this giant's island. So this is all which has been described by Gulliver. Whatever he has experienced on this giant island, he has expressed that.
Okay.
Okay.
So that was indeed a very wonderful session. Thank you so much, Ms. Rashi Thapa, for being with us. And dear learners, this was for 5th standard English students. I just hope you have totally and thoroughly enjoyed this session, and it's time for me to wrap up this session here only, but you stay tuned to PMeVIDYA channel and NCERT official YouTube channel for more informative programs. Me, Renu Bhatt, is taking your leave. Namaskar.